Okay. Sweet. Jay Gurudev, to anybody who is listening. All right. I'm going to read chapter 6 tonight from the Bhagavad Gita Essentials book by Paramahamsa Sri Swami Vishwananda. That is who the commentary is written by. And we're going to be listening to Sri Krishna's words and hopefully, imbibing that into our system and maybe answer some questions from our daily life that we ask ourselves. Let's see what we get tonight. Right. Hoping this audio is working okay. I think it's working all right. Yeah, it seems like it's fine. I'm getting some readings. All right. Cool. All right. Picking up where we left off. Here we go. Chapter 6. Just rock it like this. Sorry, Krishna. You know what? Put them on the side, actually. Bum, bum, bum. All right, cool. There we go. All right, we're in the zone now. Chapter 6, Dhyana Yoga. Krishna describes meditation. Now that renunciation and the nature of action have been thoroughly explained, Chapter 6 begins to describe Dhyana Yoga, or meditation. Krishna, up till now, has provided a step-by-step path beginning with Karma Yoga. Once this is successfully practiced, one achieves inner tranquility. This creates the desired state for Dhyana Yoga, where the mind is made to focus within and have the direct perception of the Atma. Krishna gives Arjuna the practical techniques upon which one can best attempt to master the mind through the practice of meditation. Gradually, through intense self-control and repeated practice, one is able to perceive the Atma and experience limitless joy, free from suffering. Responding to Arjuna's fears of failure, Krishna explains that the fruits of this yoga are never lost. If one does not achieve the goal in this life, one will inevitably be given the right circumstances to carry on one's spiritual development. The chapter concludes by stating that the one who is absorbed in the path of yoga given by Krishna thus far is superior to all other spiritual seekers, but amongst all such yogis, the one who dwells on Krishna is the highest of all. It is this last verse which marks the beginning of a new line of discourse in the Gita, one where Krishna places himself explicitly as the Supreme Lord and teaches Arjuna the way of bhakti, devotion. Let me see if I have this here. 1 second. Verses 1 through 4. The true renunciate. Lord Krishna says, one who performs their prescribed work without expecting the fruits of their action is a true renunciate and a yogi, not one who does not light the sacrificial fire and avoids their duty. O Arjuna, understand that renunciation is the same as yoga, for no one becomes a true karma yogi without giving up the desire for pleasure. For the sage who is still seeking to make progress in yoga, action is said to be the way. When one has become advanced in yoga, renunciation is the way. When one loses all attachment for sense objects and to performing action, and when he has abandoned all desires, then he is considered to have reached the heights of yoga. Those who are doing every action without expecting something in return, selflessly, those who love unconditionally, those who are devoid of pride and ego and expectation, those who have renounced the mind, because it is the mind that desires and always longs for recognition, they are the true sannyasis. It is not the color or the clothes that they are wearing. That's not sannyasa. It's not the external sannyasa, it's the internal. Verses 5 through 9. The mind is our best friend or our worst enemy. One should raise oneself by one's own mind and not allow oneself to fall, for a controlled mind is one's friend, but an uncontrolled mind is one's enemy. The mind is a friend to one who has mastered it, but for one whose mind is uncontrolled, it becomes the worst of enemies. If one gains self-control and tranquility, then the Supreme Self is realized. He is perfectly balanced in heat and cold, pleasure and pain, honor and dishonor. The yogi who is fully content with knowledge and realization of the self, who dwells in a transcendent state, whose senses are controlled, will see earth, stone, and gold the same. One who regards well-wishers, friends, an enemy, one who is indifferent, a mediator, the hateful, relatives, and even the righteous and the unrighteous as the same, is truly advanced. The mind is the best, sorry, 1 second. I'm just want to check that. Did we actually leave off last time? Did we read chapter 6 already, or am I just tripping? Let me double check. No, this is good. Yeah, we are on chapter 6. Okay, good. So, commentary. The mind is the best friend of one who has conquered the mind. Who has conquered what? Is it the self that conquers the mind? It is the self that conquers the mind. So what happens? The thoughts and subsequent actions, which are always under the command of the mind, change. Now the mind is being controlled by the soul. When the mind is running somewhere else, the soul says, "Come back here," and puts you on the right track. If you don't control the mind, if you don't succeed in your endeavor, the mind will become your worst enemy. This is when very often people go into deep depression. They collapse. They can't handle anything. Even if they have all the knowledge, but yet they have let the mind poison them. When the mind and the senses are controlled, they don't run after the sense objects. So one can direct the senses to where one wants. This is self-mastery. If the mind and the senses are under control, they can be focused on God, on the image of the divine, which will lead one towards God realization. The ones who are completely surrendered to God through the control of the mind, they don't get disturbed by anything. They're not touched by pleasure or pain, honor and dishonor, or anything. These opposites don't affect them at all, because they see the divine in everything. This is the quality of someone who has merged into his own self. He reflects calmness, peace, tranquility, and joy. These qualities emanate from the ones who are not agitated by anything. They are free. True yogis are here on earth to love. They always stay in that loving state, and in that loving state, there is no judgment. It's not like human love, where you put someone high up on a pedestal, and then the moment you hear or see something that you don't like, the person, there's something that you don't like about the person, you think you love, then you become aggressive and depressive. You become all the sieves, expansive, expressive, oppressive, and possessive. Whereas the ones who excel are above all this. They look at everything equally and rejoice in God consciousness. They see that it is God who is doing this multitude of activities through his creation. It is God who has manifested himself and is enjoying himself while he is doing everything. There's no need to judge when you are absorbed in the divine love. When you're absorbed in divine love, the only thing to do is to love. That's why I chose just love. Otherwise, I would tell you, think about love, think love. No, I said just love. Don't bother about anything. Don't worry. Your aim is to love. This is your Dharma. Verses 10 through 17, the practice of meditation. Remaining alone in a solitary place, controlling his mind and body, free from any desire and sense of ownership, the yogi should constantly engage the mind in meditational absorption. In a clean place, he should make a firm seat, which is neither too high nor too low, covering it with cloth, deerskin, and kusha grass. Sitting on that seat, focusing the mind in concentration, with the thoughts and senses restrained, one should practice yoga for self-purification. He should hold the body, head and neck erect, in a motionless and steady posture, focusing one's gaze on the tip of the nose without looking around. Being serene and fearless, firm in the vow of celibacy, and holding the mind in check, he should fix his thoughts on me. Sitting in meditation, he should hold me to be the goal of life. Applying themselves constantly in this way, the yogi with a controlled mind attains peace, which culminates in liberation, thereby abiding with me forever. Arjuna, yoga is not for one who overeats, nor for one who fasts excessively, nor is it for one who sleeps too much, nor for one who stays awake for lengthy periods. Yoga becomes the destroyer of sorrow for one who is moderate in eating, recreation, the performance of action, sleep, and wakefulness. Krishna is saying that you should practice your sadhana for self-purification. Without self-purification, you can't advance. This purification is very important. He is emphasizing purification through meditation. Purify yourself by chanting the name of God. Meditate on the Lord, meditate on his glory, meditate on his form, meditate on his name. For a yogi to sit in Times Square is easy, because that one has transcended everything. But people who have not yet transcended still have to find this quiet place in the outside, where they will not get disturbed, where the mind will not run left and right. The time and the place of meditation are very important, because when you set a certain time to meditate, you are inviting God to be there with you. It's like if you invite a friend to come to your place, and then you're not there to welcome your friend. How would it be? Or you're invited somewhere, you're ringing the bell, and you see all the lights off. Then someone turns the light on, and you see the person in pajamas saying, I thought it was tomorrow. How would it be? You would be shocked, no? So here it is the same thing. When you set a certain time to sit for meditation, you are inviting God to manifest himself at that moment. And you can have this expectation that as you sent the invitation, God will come and be eagerly waiting for you inside yourself at that time. Verses 18 through 32, the goal of meditation. When the subdued mind rests in the self alone, free from all material desire, one is said to be well established in yoga. The controlled mind of a yogi who meditates on the self is compared to a lamp which does not flicker in a windless place. When the mind, restrained by the practice of yoga, perceives the self, one discovers its bliss. When one experiences that intense joy, which is known to the intellect but unknowable to the senses, one remains fixed in this state, never wavering from it. When one has attained this state, one realizes that there is nothing higher. As a result, one cannot be moved from this position even by terrible suffering. You should understand that this deliverance from suffering is the very purpose of yoga. Therefore, yoga must be practiced with determination and with a mind free from despondency. It should be done while renouncing all desires for material things and restraining the senses through the mind alone. With the firm resolution of the intellect, step by step one should become centered within. Having focused the mind upon the self, one should think of nothing else. Wherever the fickle and unsteady mind wanders, one should bring it back under control, keeping it fixed on the self alone. When the yogi has his passions subdued and is focused on the Lord without worldly contamination, when his mind is still, he experiences the highest happiness. Thus, freed from mental impurities and constantly engaged in the practice of yoga, the yogi easily attains the supreme bliss of knowing the Lord. Through this yoga, one gains that equal vision. One sees the Lord in all beings and all beings within the Lord. For one who sees me everywhere and everything in me, I am not separated from him, and he is never separated from me. However a person lives, if he realizes this unity and worships me as the one dwelling in all beings, he rests in me as a true yogi. O Arjuna, one who sees the pleasure and pain of all others as one's own is the highest yogi. Here Krishna makes an Here Krishna makes an analogy between a still mind and an unmoving flame. The mind is motionless like the light of a lamp in a windless place. A flame is always moving, but when it is sheltered, blocked from all sides, it doesn't move. It doesn't flicker. It is stable. It shines. It radiates light. Like that, when one is fully absorbed in the divine self, God within oneself, nothing can deviate from the path, and automatically one starts to shine all the divine qualities. When through deep meditation one has perceived the true reality, which is perceived by the intelligence and is beyond the senses, when one has perceived and attained this bliss through meditation on God, when God has revealed this supreme aspect of himself within oneself, established therein, the soul can no longer fall away from the spiritual truth of its being. In this state, one perceives this oneness and the everlasting, imperishable joy and bliss emanating from God within oneself. One is God realized, one is a true yogi, and one is never disunited from God. Whatever one does in life, whether it is having children, eating, drinking, or sleeping, if one is centered in that state, nothing can touch that person. One stays ever free. That's why when you see in ancient times, the sages were all karma yogis. They were all married, even the gurus, and their wives were supporting their work. All those greater mothers also attained the same state of God realization as their husbands due to their surrender, their service, their bhakti, and the dedication that they had to their husbands. Lord Krishna says that the ones who have attained this supreme state, whatever they do in the outside world, they are completely free, even if it may appear that they are limited. One might ask, if you're a yogi, why do you need to sleep? If you are a yogi, why do you need to eat? But as they are established in the self, they are beyond duality. They are beyond the judgment of right and wrong. They are beyond the judgment of being husband and wife. They are beyond the duality of man and woman. They are beyond heat and cold. They are beyond good and bad and other opposites. Everything that you do, once you have attained bliss, is infused with that bliss. When bliss awakens inside of you, it starts to consume you, and it is forever. It will keep growing. There is not an end to that bliss. All the saints of the Lord are absorbed in that bliss. Verses 33 through 36, Arjuna's doubt. Arjuna says, "O Krishna, due to the mind being so unsteady, this yoga, which has been taught by you, appears impractical and unstable. The mind is fickle, turbulent, powerful, and stubborn. It is more difficult to control than the wind." Lord Krishna says, "The mind is undoubtedly chaotic and hard to subdue, O Arjuna. But by repeated practice and renunciation, it can be brought under control. In my opinion, it is hard for a person with an unrestrained mind to take up this path. However, it can be done through proper means by one who strives for it with a subdued mind." Arjuna's question was how to gain control of this unsteady mind. Bhagavan has replied to him by saying that it is possible to do so through constant practice of mental discipline and observance, to observe the mind, to observe how the mind is thinking, to keep the mind on the path of reflection. That will free oneself from attachment. But he is saying that one must practice. Wherever you focus your mind, that mind takes a shape. It's like liquid. It doesn't have a form itself, but it takes the form of a receptacle. You pour water in a bottle, it takes the form of a bottle. Such is this mind also. If you feed that mind with negativity, it will become negative. If you were sitting here, O Arjuna, and telling me, no, I can't do it, you will not be able to. If you sit and say, I can't, you are building a brick wall where you are closing yourself inside. You are blinding yourself. You are finding thousands of excuses for not doing your sadhana, for not practicing your kriya. Here Bhagavan says, practice is very important. Don't find excuses. Stop saying, I can't. Sing, I can, and I will. And when you sit down in your meditation, have this pure conviction that the Almighty Lord Himself is with you. Krishna says that when your mind is jumping from one thing to the other, don't run into your weakness. Don't run into your fear. Don't think that your desire for God is too much or too far away. One should always be alert and not allow the mind to think about anything but God. He has given so many divine forms. He has given so many divine names to enable mankind to completely focus on Him. When you sit for meditation, if you perceive your mind going somewhere else, let it go, but then bring it back. Show your power over it through the intellect. Show that the great observer is more powerful than the mind. That's why you can bring back your thought and control it. Remind yourself continuously, even if you don't notice when the mind ran away and slipped out. When it slips out, don't dwell on the object that has attracted the mind. Instead, bring the mind back and fix it in the self. Fix it on God. God dwells in the identity of the soul as the supersoul. Verses 37 through 46. The fate of the failed yogi. Arjuna says, O Krishna, what becomes of that person who has conviction, but due to the wanderings of the mind and lack of diligent effort fails to attain perfection on this path? Having no success in both the material world and the path to God, is he not like a broken cloud, lost and without any position? O Krishna, please remove this doubt of mine completely, for there is no one else who can dispel it. Lord Krishna says, "Neither in this world nor in the next, O Arjuna, is he ever lost. For verily no one who does good ever comes to grief. Having attained to the realms of the righteous and dwelt there for many long years, one who has fallen from yoga is born again in the house of the pure and prosperous. Or one is born into a family of wise yogis, but such a birth in this world is very difficult to obtain. Then, O Arjuna, one regains the same disposition of mind which was acquired in their previous body, and from there one strives again for success in yoga. Due to the practice done previously, he is pulled to that position, even against his will. Understand that one who merely inquires about yoga transcends the ritualistic principles of the scriptures. By striving earnestly, the practicing yogis, who are purified of their faults, attain perfection after many births and reach that supreme goal. The yogi is considered to be superior to those who perform austerity, superior to the intellectuals, and even superior to the ritualists. Therefore, O Arjuna, become a yogi. If you don't reach it in one life, it doesn't get wasted, because spirituality is not tangible. Spirituality is not something which is made up of matter, but it is made up of faith inside of you. What is happening right now is a continuation from what you have started before. And if in this life you don't attain it, you will carry on in the next life. Those who have faith in God, they are not lost. This is his assurance. The surroundings create an effect on people. Even if one has grace, it can stay dormant inside one's heart. Deep inside, one has the feeling, I am incomplete. However, due to the environment, due to the surroundings, due to the mind's activities, they only get drawn to the outside reality. They get tempted and controlled by the outside reality, and then they don't have the grace to find their path in this lifetime. However, through the grace that they received, through the punya that they accumulated, they are born again on this earth in spiritual families which will contribute to their spiritual growth. This means that the ones who try their best never lose. They enjoy celestial regions for long years and are born again on earth to continue on their spiritual advancement. In this life, through sadhana, through following the words of the Master, the one who has faith in one's practice, who has faith in God, transcends the enjoyment of this world, as well as the next one. And due to the fruits of past good punya, one continues practicing and advancing on the path to enlightenment. Sometimes people take a spiritual path, they get initiated, they follow the Master, and then they feel that the path is not their path. Then they go away, not knowing that God had placed them on that path for a reason. Due to their difficulty in following what the Master had asked from them, that grace that they received, even just to be in the presence of the Master, will become dormant inside of them until they are truly ready. Then they will be called back again. And if they die, they will be called again in their next life. The soul sees the path that will lead one to the spiritual family. Vasudevaya, Vasude, Vasudaviva, Vasudeva, Kutam Bhaktam, Kutam Bhaktam. This unification of one family, a real family, is one that shares with you, who stands with you, however you are, who supports you on your way. That's real family. Verse 47, the highest of all yogis. But more than all the yogis, he who has faith and worships me is deemed by me to be the highest of all. The bhaktas, the devotees of the Lord, are the true yogis. Devotees who love him and serve him are united with him in yoga, and so they are the true yogis. The true yogis have a zeal inside of them, a longing. They have an urge inside of them to seek the grace of the Lord, which normal people don't have. Here Bhagavan Krishna is praising the bhakta. He is praising the devotee who is surrendered to him. He is praising the greatness of a devotee. They don't just believe, but they have a conviction of the existence of the Supreme Lord. The bhaktas have full conviction that their existence here is to serve the Lord and the saints. Their faith is unshakable. Those who have unshakable faith are dear to the Lord. Chapter 6, Key Terms. Kusha grass, a type of grass considered sacred in India. It is generally used for purification or as a conduit for energy during puja and ritual ceremonies. It can also be used to construct a seat for meditation. It's getting late. Let's see. How long is chapter 7? Not long. Let's do chapter 7. Take Gurudev. Chapter 7. Dhyana Vijnana Yoga, knowledge of Krishna. The first 6 chapters have focused on how one can attain realization of the self through desireless action. The practice of karma yoga allows one to internally withdraw from the world and gain mastery over the senses. Eventually, through Dhyana yoga, one gains knowledge of the Atma, Brahma Jnana, and becomes firmly established in this state. But throughout Krishna's discourse, Arjuna has been both confused and doubtful about just how successful one can be on this path. Chapter 7 marks the beginning of a new phase in the Gita's teaching, where the next 6 chapters shift the emphasis to devotion, bhakti, on Krishna, as a means of freeing oneself from the bondage of karma. It is where Arjuna gradually becomes aware of the divine personality who creates, sustains, and destroys all that exists. So far, there have been incidental references to Krishna as the Supreme Lord, but now this truth is revealed explicitly to Arjuna. In this chapter, Arjuna learns how this world and the individual souls rest upon Krishna, forming a part of his cosmic form. Not only does Krishna support creation, but he is actually immanent within immanent within each and every aspect of it. He is the fragrance of the earth, the brilliance of fire, and the life of life itself. Krishna states that this material world is very difficult to cross over, but by surrendering to him, one can easily break free of it. Various people approach Krishna, but out of these it is the pure devotees who is most dear. Such a person enjoys a mutual loving relationship and sees the truth that Krishna is all things. But those without this knowledge worship other gods, failing to see that they are empowered by Krishna alone. Krishna points out that the ignorant cannot recognize his divinity and are fooled by his external form. Only those who are pure and engaged in virtuous acts can sincerely worship him as the Lord. Verses 1 through 3. The rarity of knowing Krishna. Lord Krishna says, "Now listen, Arjuna. How one can have full knowledge of me without any doubts by dedicating his yoga practice to me and absorbing his mind on me. I will explain this knowledge to you fully, along with the process of its immediate realization. Once you understand this, there is nothing else that needs to be known. Among thousands of men, perhaps one strives for perfection. Even among those who strive for perfection, only one may know me. And among those who know me, maybe only one alone knows me in truth. How great it is to be born as a human, because no other creature has the faculty of longing for the Lord, of attaining the Lord, of achieving God realization. No other creature has this choice. You will not see a bird saying, 'Oh, today I'll not do anything. I will just sit and meditate on God.' Rarely is one given the gift to realize God. Sadly, human beings don't realize the greatness of the blessing, the grace of being born on earth, even if they are reminded thousands of times. Rise above this illusion. Don't attach yourself to this illusion. The attachment to worldly enjoyment lasts only during this life, and then you are bound by imperfection. Krishna says, love God. Yet out of the thousands who love God, only a handful, only a few can really reach perfection. As it is said in the Bible, many are called, few are chosen. When one sees Him within the core of one's own heart, within one's own self, through this supreme knowledge, one will perceive the Supreme Lord everywhere. The bhaktas, the devotees, who have achieved such perfection, see that there is no difference anywhere. Wherever they go, whichever form of the divine they worship, they perceive only one reality. Krishna says that this is very rare. This is why there are so many groups, so many denominations that bring abomination into the world, because of this lack of perception that it is the same Supreme Lord who has different names in different forms, who is present everywhere. That's why there is complete judgment. My path is better than yours. Some devotees have the grace of becoming true Vaishnavas. However, one doesn't become a true Vaishnava just by wearing a tilak and a dhoti. The true Vaishnavas who are striving to attain the Lord change inside and let the divine qualities awaken inside them. They are completely detached from the outside world and are not attached to anything. Whatever they have, they offer it in devotion to the Lord. They don't desire anything but Him. They have super faith, and when they sit in their sadhana, they don't think, oh my goodness, when will I finish? The Lord will reveal Himself within these great ones. When you look at the life of saints, you see that they are so fully absorbed into Krishna that nothing else matters to them. Nothing in the outside reality disturbs them. Bhagavan Krishna says that there were many great kings who achieved such a state. They still continued doing their everyday duties, but their minds were fully focused on the Lord. However, Lord Krishna says that even among those, only a few perceive and know Him in reality. One can know Him in the scriptures, yet only the one who is fully surrendered can know Him as the supreme reality. And these blessed ones are truly very few. Verses 4 through 6. The higher and lower natures of God. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intellect, and the ego make up the 8 parts of my material nature. This is my lower nature. But Arjuna, know that my higher nature is different. It is made up of the embodied souls which sustain this universe. Know that all beings originate from those 2 natures of mine. Understand, therefore, that I am the origin and the dissolution of this whole universe. The whole universe comes out of Krishna and disappears back into Krishna. This is a law of creation which manifests through his 2 Shaktis, Apara Prakriti and Para Prakriti. Everything is taking place in his cosmic body. Prakriti, his Maya, makes everybody jump and dance to her tune and think that this tune is the higher reality. However, this eightfold Prakriti is just one aspect of his Maya. It is called Apara Prakriti, where the mind is veiled and can't perceive the eternal reality. These eightfold principles are the Lord's material nature, Prakriti. It is through this Prakriti, this Maya, that the Lord manifests Himself and manifests His whole creation. It is because of this Maya, which created the world, the whole outside world, that human beings get trapped, carried away, and rooted in ignorance, forgetting that there is a higher supreme reality. Who are you? This mind? This ego? This intellect? People who dwell in the lower nature of Maya perceive the difference between themselves and God. They don't realize themselves. They stay in ignorance, and due to ignorance they have this pain, this sadness, this suffering of separation. Everything is his Maya, his own creation. Through these two Prakritis, Apara Prakriti and Para Prakriti, he manifests and sustains his own creation, where he plays all the different roles. The one who has realized such a state doesn't sing the glory song, I am beautiful, I am the most important, I am the greatest, there is nothing but me. Rather, he sings Krishna, you are beautiful, Krishna is everything, Krishna is here, Krishna is there, and Krishna is everywhere. Such are the wise ones, who are always seated in this deep realization and perceive this reality, this true knowledge. Verses 7 through 12. Krishna's transcendence and eminence. There is nothing higher than me, O Arjuna. All of this rests upon me like pearls on a thread. I am the taste of water. I am the radiance of the sun and the moon. I am the sacred syllable Om in the Vedas. I am the sound in ether and the valor in men. I am the fragrance of the earth. I am the heat of the fire. I am the life of all living beings and the austerity of ascetics. Know me, Arjuna, to be the original seed of all beings. I am the intelligence of the intelligent and the energy of the energetic. O Arjuna, I am the strength of the strong, which is without passion and desire. I am that desire in all living beings, which does not go against righteous principles. Know that all the states of sattva, rajas, and tamas have their origin in me alone, but I am not in them. They are in me. All the universes are strung together like pearls on a necklace that he himself wears. Nothing exists beyond him. He is the sole reality. Like the thread holding the pearls, God is holding and sustaining his entire creation, and he is in each part of his creation. He is the strength and the essence of men because he is the super soul. He is the soul of souls. He is the one who pervades the soul itself, and there is none beyond him. If one reaches such a state, one fully realizes Krishna, one attains him fully. It is me who inspires one to rise above desire. I am the one who gives the strength to rise above duality and see the oneness. I am also the one who is striving for awakening. It is me who gives one the awareness to see the limitation and to divert from the limitation so that one can perceive beyond Prakriti. I am this eternal perfection seated beyond any duality. But I am not in them, they are in me. Do you understand that? This means that even though God pervades everything, he is not touched by anything. Even in his cosmic body, he is ever free from his own lower nature, from the qualities of Rajasic, Tamasic, and Sattvic. These qualities are said to be secondary, subjective becomings of nature. They evolve not from Yoga Maya, Paraprakriti, but from Apara Prakriti, the Prakriti that blind men, the Prakriti that makes one become attached to the outside reality. The supreme quality is beyond that. That's why he says, I am not in them. Even the Atma itself is a lower manifestation of the Lord. That's why the Atma is always permanent and it is always there serving the Supreme. Have you ever seen any great souls who have realized themselves? What do? They always pray and they always tell everybody else to pray. All the great sages are always constantly praying to the Supreme Lord. They realize that they are always next to him and that they are here to serve him. They don't say, "Yes, I am the ultimate. There is nothing to pray to." They say, "There is this Supreme Lord that we are all turning towards." Once one awakens, one will perceive that the Lord remains always the Lord. The servant remains always the servant. Verses 13 through 15. Surrender allows us to cross over Maya. The entire universe is deluded by these three conditions originating from the gunas and fails to recognize me, who is unchanging and beyond. For this divine Maya of mine, consisting of the three gunas, is hard to overcome. But those who take refuge in me alone cross over it easily. But the unrighteous, the foolish, the lowest of people, those whose wisdom has been stolen away by Maya, and those who have taken the nature of demons do not seek refuge in me. The one who is full of sorrow, who is deluded by the glamour of the outside world, who rejoices in the objects of the senses, who is constantly focused on the outside reality, who is always longing for outward perfection, can't perceive true perfection, true knowledge, the glory of God, the mystery of God, because the mind is so full of doubts and misconceptions. There are even people who are constantly hanging on to the qualities of the three gunas. Until they rise above the three gunas, they will never realize themselves and reach the goal of life. Bhagavan is emphasizing, I am above that. When you realize that I am the cosmic soul, when you realize within the core of yourself that I am the essence of all, then you will rise above this kind of judgment. You will rise above the sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic qualities. Then you can completely identify yourself with the Lord. There is no judgment of others, because one knows that God is doing his work through each person. In one person, he is a banker. In another, he is a sweeper. In another, he is tapping on the iPad. And in another, he is playing the drums. But the one who is a fool doesn't realize this. The Lord is saying, as I am not touched by Maya, so my devotees who are surrendered to me are free. Maya stops controlling them. Those who chant my name, those who by any means try to control their mind, those who are fully absorbed in my service, forgetting themselves completely, those who think only on me, they are my devotees, and they cross beyond the gunas. The gunas don't have any effect on them because they become as me. I start to shine upon them, and they start to reflect my divine qualities, my cosmic qualities, and whatever my cosmic qualities are shining, Maya doesn't have any power. And wherever my cosmic qualities are shining, Maya doesn't have any power. Here Bhagavan is saying, even if it appears as if Maya controls everything, I am the Lord of Maya and I control her. Verses 16 through 22, 4 categories of devotees. 4 types of devotees worship me, O Arjuna: the distressed, the seekers of knowledge, those who desire wealth, and the jnani, who truly has knowledge. Of these, the jnani is steadfast and ever devoted. Of these, the jnani who is steadfast and ever devoted is the best. I am very dear to him, and he is very dear to me. Those who approach me are all noble people, but I see the jnani as my very self. For such a person is steady, and exclusively devoted to me as the highest goal. At the end of many births, the one who has true knowledge surrenders to me, realizing that Krishna is everything. Such a person is very rare. Enslaved by their inherent nature and deprived of insight by various desires, the worldly minded turn to other demigods observing various disciplines. Understand that whichever manifestation of a demigod any devotee desires to worship with faith, it is I that makes that faith unshakable and firm. Endowed with that faith, one engages in the worship of a particular demigod, obtaining their desired objects, but these objects are in fact given by me alone. Lord Krishna says that there are 4 kinds of bhaktas, 4 kinds of devotees who come to him. The first kind of devotee, arto, are the suffering ones. Jin, Jij, Jinyasur is the second kind of devotee. The sole motive is to know God and to attain God realization in this life. Unlike the first kind of devotees, they care not for the outside world. They are completely the opposite. They don't care about the objects of the senses. Everything they do in their work, their daily routine, is only for one thing: to attain the Lord, nothing else. Here, Lord Krishna says that this kind of devotee is also very dear to him. They worship the Lord, but they still perceive God as being outside themselves, separate from themselves. They don't perceive the divine, they don't perceive Krishna within themselves. They serve him when he is present as a deity, but they can't see beyond that. They don't know that the Supreme Lord is beyond everything, is seated everywhere, in all his creation. Of course, they know it, but only in the mind. They have not perceived it. The third kind of devotee, Ardhari, are those who know that everything comes from God, yet they are still very attached to wealth, honor, name, fame, and glory. They seek God only to fulfill their desires. They pray, they do their sadhana, they do everything with that aim, with that one aim. These devotees have great faith and devotion and know deep within that only God can fulfill their desires, but they long only for God's gifts, and their faith is based on that. They do everything for personal gain, not selflessly. They know that God is the embodiment of truth. They pray to him for security, for they know that he is the only one who can protect and save them. The fourth type of devotee, the jnani, the realized souls, are the ones who abide completely in the reality of God consciousness. For them, there is nothing other than him, Krishna. All their desires have ceased, including the desire to meet Krishna or to realize Krishna, because they perceive Krishna within themselves, in the core of their heart. Wherever they are, whatever they do, is an act of worship to the Lord. In such a state of devotion and surrender, they realize that there is only the Lord himself in them who is doing everything. Here, Bhagavan Krishna himself says that it is okay for ignorant people to worship other deities, not knowing his true nature. If they have faith, it is actually him that makes that faith strong. For the sake of people's faith, he manifests himself in various aspects, 6 different forms. If the devotee worships him through yagna, due to the love and faith that they have, even if it is for the demigods, he limits and manifests himself into that aspect. Such is the mercy of that by his own will he happily limits himself and takes any aspect, any form. Through faith you can transform a block of marble and make Bhagavan himself install himself fully in it. Then that marble statue is no longer just a statue. Your faith has transformed the statue and made it come alive. The Lord himself has become alive in the statue. Many people say, in Hinduism they pray to statues, but people don't know that they are not just statues. They are deities. They are alive. Through faith they become alive. Verse 23. What you worship determines your destination. But the reward gained by these people of limited understanding is temporary. The worshippers of the demigods will go to the demigods, but my devotees will come to me. Here Krishna says, people who pray or do big sacrifices just for the sake of selfish gain, whatever business they have done with the demigods, when they leave this plane, when they die, their soul migrates to the celestial world for a small holiday. But the demigods will give you what you ask for. The demigods will give you what you ask for, but it's a business. You go to those celestial realms for some time and then you come back. You're born on earth again because you missed the opportunity to realize God when you were here before. You missed the opportunity to attain him through devotion to him alone. Like that, many souls get trapped in this delusion. That's why there is birth and death and birth. One continues in this cycle, one life after another. One stays in this dormant state of illusion. Even the Lord stays dormant within the hearts of these people, waiting for them to become conscious of him. He is waiting, life after life, until they come face to face with God's reality, until they have the chance to surrender to the Guru wholeheartedly in mind, body, and spirit. Verses 24 through 30, perceiving the truth of Krishna. Not knowing my higher nature as imperishable and supreme, the ignorant think of me as an impersonal being who has now become manifest. I do not reveal myself to everybody, but I cover myself with my yoga maya. This deluded world does not recognize me as unborn and infallible. O Arjuna, I know all the beings that have come before, that are here now, and those that have yet to come, but no one knows me. Bewildered by the pairs of opposites, Arjuna, which arise from desire and aversion. All beings are born into delusion, but those who perform virtuous deeds, whose sins have ceased, are freed from the illusion of the pairs of opposites. They worship me, steadfast in their determination. Those who take refuge in me and strive for liberation from old age and death fully understand Brahman, Adhyatma, and Karma. And those who know me in relation to the Adibhuta, Adidaiva, and the Adiyajna, they too, with their minds fixed, can know me even at the hour of death. When the Lord manifests himself in this world, he spreads his maya all over himself and remains hidden. He covers himself well with his own yoga maya, wrapping it around him like a shawl. However, even if he is covered by his own yoga maya, he is never touched by yoga maya. Due to his yoga maya, the vision of ordinary man cannot pierce this veil, so most people regard him as just an ordinary human being. Such deluded ones cannot perceive the true identity of the unmanifested. They can only see what he is doing outwardly. The Kauravas said, "O Krishna is just a charioteer sitting there and bringing Arjuna wherever Arjuna wants." They could not see that he is bringing everyone, that it is he, the charioteer, in each one. Due to his faith in Krishna, Arjuna could humble himself in front of him and say, "I take you now as my guru. Instruct me, show me the right way, that will free me." It is due to his faith that Krishna is there with him. Without this faith, Krishna would not be there. Here Bhagavan Krishna is saying, I am the Lord himself of the past, present, and future. Even if I manifested myself in a human form, even if I have limited myself in this form in front of you, I am still the Supreme One. I know the past, I know the present, and I know what will come, but no one knows me. Those who are surrendered, the bhaktas who have faith, those who are longing to know him, those who want to get out of ignorance, those who have devotion and love, those who are free from judgment, free from criticizing others, free from delusion, such a devotee as this has a glimpse of him. Such a devotee knows a little bit of him, and that little bit itself is everything, because their knowing is not in the mind. That knowing is deep inside of their heart, in their consciousness, in their soul itself. The Lord says, for those blessed souls who throughout many lives have done noble deeds, much penance, sacrifice, and charity, and practiced devotion, there is no sin. They are guided in this life to have good association, high association. Due to this good association, they are freed. They attain purity of heart. When they worship me, when they surrender to me, there is complete eradication of all negativity from their past lives. They are freed from delusion, from the dualities, and from judgment. They are freed from anger. In all circumstances, they stay balanced and ever focused on me. Their minds never dwell in the world, even while they are doing their daily activities. Their minds are always focused on me. They have attained the ultimate perfection. They live in me and I live in them. They become a temple within which I am completely, fully present. They become a movable temple, a portable temple, within which the Lord is moving from one place to another. When you go to a temple, you always profit, isn't it true? Like that, whoever goes to a temple or whoever meets a temple on the way gets a blessing, because temples always give this love of God. Such is the one who has risen above duality, who has completely surrendered to Narayana Krishna. Chapter 7, verses, key terms. Jnani, the pure devotee who possesses knowledge of who the Lord truly is. These Sanskrit terms are defined by Krishna in Chapter 8. Chapter 8. All right, it's been an hour on the nose. Save Chapter 8 for another night. Jai Gurudev. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Thank you.